What's going on, everybody? It's Childish. We're back at it again, coming at you with another Summoner's War video. In today's video, we're going to be tackling something a little bit different for y'all today. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to build a Triple Crown team, which is essentially one team to take on every single stage in the Cairos dungeon. The GB10, the DB10, and of course the MB10. And in order to help me out with that today, we got a special guest in the house here. Zeomi is back at it again. What's up, my man? How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing real good, Childish. It's good to be here.
Hey, it's good to be here. We got both of the ASMR kings of Summoners War doing our thing, getting it in. Now we got a little challenge to see what whose voice they like better, right?
Oh my goodness, are we really going to do
Oh,
that?
we're
Do
really
you
gonna
really
do that.
want to know what your viewership thinks of my voice versus yours?
It's not as good as my voice, so you better watch out. I am the king of ASMR. What's up? Okay. Before it gets a little too cringy here, yeah, we're gonna jump right into it. We had a couple of improvements made on our account, compliments of Zeomi, and to kind of get everybody start back from the beginning, essentially. What I did, I don't even know how long this was, Zeomi, but just like everybody, right? We created a GB10 team, a DB10, and an MB10 team, and for me, I utilized probably like I want to say it was like 14 units between all three of my dungeon teams way back in the day. And then we had that nice little blast of twins come out. The twins came and they were meta, and I was able to consolidate and essentially make three teams with about, I would say about like 9 or 10 units. I was able to get it done here. Now, given the fact that I can't collect the runes like Zeomi can because I don't farm as much as them, I had to figure out a way to consolidate my runes once again and see what I can do to manage it. And luckily enough, I saw Zeomi on his channel bringing out content and collabing with Sean B, bringing out some really good content about essentially building one team for all. A Triple Crown team is how I'm coined it here. So therein lied me connected with Zeomi. Zeomi reached out to my account, and as you guys can see right now, between my dungeons that we're showcasing right here, we have three different dungeons, one team, and we're getting essentially anywhere from 27 seconds to 45, 50-second clears, depending on what stage it is. So Zeomi, why don't you give the community a little background here? What led you into thinking about building this thing, and like give me some of your like general concepts on this kind of strategy.
Sure. So, I guess let's start with what got me to build it. I really love this game. I've been playing it now for 6 years, and I'm always looking for things that will kind of challenge me or keep my interest in it. And as I will freely admit, RTA, that is not where my skill set lies in this game. For whatever reason, it doesn't click. PvE, though, that is a thing that is near and dear to my heart. And I really like the concept of initially having the fastest clear times for PvE.
Mhm.
So when I first started out with that, I was watching Barian, and I mean Barian, probably one of the best Summoners War players all around.
Yeah.
He led the way for a lot of the comps that we used for a long time. As I watched him, I started to look at like how he was approaching each thing, and it dawned on me, oh yeah, these dungeons, they all have very specific requirements to get past them. I wonder if you could make a single comp that could get through all of those different gates so that you could just keep that one comp there, that you could get fast clear times, that you could get high success rate, and ultimately have one comp to rule them all.
Right. It's crazy, man. Like I said, it pretty much changed the game that I play right now. Again, guys, obviously you're seeing the team that I have right now. We got Talia, we got Diva, we got Julie, we got Sue, and we got Sabrina doing her thing here. So I ain't gonna lie. When I reached out to Zeomi and I was like, "Hey man, what do you think? Do you think we can improve this?" Like, you go ahead. I'll go ahead and take a look at it here. And he made the changes, and I came back to it. And I'm like, I took a look at the runes on some of these units here, and I was kind of blown away at the fact that he was able to get the stats that he got, and made it work. I think one of the biggest mistakes that I made when I first got started into trying to consolidate units and trying to make things work is that I couldn't get out of my thought process of like having a certain amount of speed or a certain amount of accuracy for certain units, and you kind of broke the mold on that. Like, what's the take on it? Like, what's the speed that you need for these kind of comps? What is the accuracy that you need for these kind of comps? Let me know what's going on there.
Sure. So, to the best of our knowledge, the PvE stats have not been changed in a number of years. This includes after they did the, what was it, last year sometime, where they took out one of the waves within the different Kairos comps, or sorry, Kairos stages. And so those stats have been known, and you can actually go find all of them on Reddit if you're really curious. And I even went and just to double check, I checked the speed of them, I checked the accuracy of them today to make sure that they were still actually on point.
Hmm.
And those two are actually probably the most important stats that you can focus on when it comes to the Kairos comps. One of the long term beliefs for Kairos was you had to have a lot of speed.
Hmm.
And so that you would be able to take a turn twice before the G10 boss or twice before the D10 boss. And that was your main way to get through them. Today, we know that no, speed actually isn't king to have fast, consistent clear times. Damage output is king. And so if you are looking for the speed that you need, as long as you are beating the fastest unit across those three dungeons, then you will have enough speed if you can put in enough damage. What that happens to be is the G10 mid boss golems have 140 speed. So as long as your unit's speed plus your speed tower is 140 or faster, then you're good to go. And that means that, let's say you had a 100 speed base unit, you would only need to have plus 25 speed on it.
Gotcha. And I was gonna say the majority of my units have anywhere from like I think plus 20 to 24, but then of course some of them have a little bit higher base speed, so I kind of get away with that. So, and how about
Mm-hmm.
the accuracy? Accuracy has been like I feel like accuracy is being tossed around so much in PVE. What's your take on it now after doing a lot of experimenting? Is it still can you still rock a relatively low amount of accuracy, or do you want to be a little bit more on the higher end?
For all of the PvE content, the absolute maximum amount of accuracy that you need is 55%. And it's really important to know you only need 55% accuracy on your defense breakers, anybody who might be doing some attack bar manipulation. Other than that, like you just want to stack as much damage as possible.
Gotcha. Cool, cool. And then one thing that I'm going to kind of throw out there, obviously when we're talking about stats, I think one of the big factors that I was pretty shocked that when I first saw the team that you kind of overdid for me was the fact that we were rocking Sue. Sue out of all the units out there, I didn't think that was, necessarily going to be the case. But correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna I'm gonna be wrong with this. I felt like when taking a look at my account, and again, everybody can see the runes that I got here. Pretty much every single unit that I have is at 100% critical rate. You were able to find runes to basically get me at a point to where I do not have to rely on critical rate. So because of the fact that I was able to do that, and I did not have as many fight runes to incorporate, I'm guessing that is why you went with the Sue, so that we can obviously have a unit that's going to be strong against all these elements, but more importantly, provide us that attack buff to kind of help us clear the waves.
You got it. You got it. When I took a look at your account, I'm a big believer that you can only really work with what you have, right? Like
Hmm.
you can't just force yourself to summon a monster by sheer will alone. I mean, unless you count your fire art master from the other day, right?
Right. Yeah. Oh my
Right.
God. Good. GG
But
Fire Master.
but other than that, like most people don't have that ability. So I think it's really important to look at the different synergy that you have with the box that you currently have. And that's why like people see what your particular one comp is, they might see what mine is, and just because they don't have those units doesn't mean they can't make it an effective one comp to rule them all if they
Right.
really want to.
Right. And I was going to add to that too. I think a really good example here is looking at the first, wave of the GB10, right? Or actually, I guess both waves there, because as of right now, I don't have the amount of attack that I need or the fight runes that I need to basically get a clear with Diva. Obviously, those would improve over time here, but despite the fact that I don't have that, I'm still able to clear the stage with a fair amount of consistency here. And so it essentially still works. It's not, perfect. I'm not getting 20-second clears every single run, but I'm still getting it done in a reasonable amount of time, and I'm also able to use that teammate course in every single dungeon that we're doing to do. So I think it's still considered a win, for most.
No doubt. And I mean, I think people also get really caught up. You mentioned you don't get a 20-second clear every time, right? Or whatever your max threshold clear is. And you don't have to. When you're really, I mean, this game is about running PvE dungeons constantly. That's how we get our runes. That's how we upgrade things. That's how we get better at RTA outside of learning how the monster skills work and the interplay between them. But this game is primarily about farming. And so you need to be able to farm efficiently and effectively. And the best way to do that is not only to have a high success clear rate, but then to be able to lower your average clear time down. And when I look at things like one comp to rule them all, I was looking at what my previous clear times were, and sure, initially I was getting faster clear times with very specialized teams. But then what I realized is if those teams didn't have perfect AI against or with them, like Lucian comps of old,
Hmm.
then you would run into these weird outliers where you'd either get a fail or your clear time would go way up. And so your average clear time would get pulled down or pulled up. It's a odd phrasing there, but
Yeah.
regardless, the average clear time would actually be worse, even though you might have a faster max clear time.
Right.
And for a game that's all about like hitting that button over and over and over time, you need your average to be lower than your max.
Gotcha. Very, very interesting here. And I think one of those units that you were talking about with regards to, perfect AI has to be Julie. Julie, it seems like, between you and of course, say Shiso, showcasing a lot of comps there. That seems to be like the one of the top dogs when it comes to units that provide the AI that you need to get those consistent clears. And let me ask you this: I'm sure you've had a chance to like talk to people about it since you guys put out your videos. What are some of the options or alternatives that maybe you guys have been recommending to people like that don't have specific units here? I mean, are you saying, hey, everyone's got to rock a Julie here because that's probably going to be the best option, or have you found other alternatives to assist with cleaving and stuff like that?
I mean, I would say that Julie is probably the best option because of her perfect AI. However, for example, if you don't have enough damage with one Julie, you can do a double Julie comp. That way, you're able to clear the waves down and consistently mow them down. If you're missing double Julie, you don't have enough damage, you could potentially do a Lucian Julie comp. Another option still would be to just do a Lucian comp and accept that your average clear times are going to be a little bit slower. Again, it's not about having the perfect team to get the perfect times, although that is what, I constantly strive for.
Hmm.
It's about working with what you have in your box and understanding, like, I guess some general principles that you should consider when you're trying to figure out how to do this. What is the fastest way that you can clear trash waves? That's going to be some sort of AoE damage dealer. It might be an AoE damage dealer followed up by another AoE damage dealer.
Hmm.
Cool, you've done that. Now you're at the mid boss. What's the fastest way to get down the mid boss? Thankfully, Summoner's War lets us target the mid boss these days. In order to kill it quickly, you
Right.
need to defense break. So, regardless of whether you have 1 or 2 damage AoE dealers up front, you're going to need a defense breaker for the mid boss to break it, and then you're going to need some kind of damage dealer or two immediately after to knock it down. Then you get to the third wave. Third wave, similar principle to the first wave. What's the fastest way that you can get rid of that wave? You need 2 AoE clears, maybe 1 if your rune quality is up there to get that down. And then the boss, very similar to the mid boss, you need to be able to get that defense break on it and then just mow it down as quickly as possible. And that's honestly, that's about all there is to it.
Gotcha. And to kind of add to that too, I like how you kind of generalize like AoE cleavers or whatnot here. You didn't say you need to have twins or you need to have Lucian to make it work. Like those are options, and I want to put it out there because I feel like a lot of people are going to look at these comps and go, "Up, you have to have twins to make this work," which is not necessarily the case. Am I correct?
That is correct. They do make it easier, right? And there are reasons that people tend to pick these specific units when they can, right? For example, Shina can be a damage dealer as well as a defense breaker.
Mm-hmm.
Pair her with another twin, it lowers her accuracy requirement. Fantastic unit to potentially bring in. However, then you've got elemental weakness in G10.
Right.
You've got Diva, the light version, who instead of being able to provide that accuracy buff to herself, will provide an extra form of damage. She also is element neutral, and in Necro, she does more damage because she is elemental advantage. So there are just little things like that, and when you are looking at the comp that you want to make, you need to start looking at those potential advantages or disadvantages that you can make with the units that you have.
Gotcha. And let's get down to the nitty gritty here when it comes to stats. You were talking about on the side here before we got into the video here. You got stats for like safety, and then you got stats for kind of optimization. Break that down a little bit. Tell me what you mean on that.
When we look at safety in this, it might be that you've got shield sets instead of having damage. If you're bringing like a Lucian, because your Lucian is doing too much damage, shield sets provide you a level of safety to make sure that the reflect damage in Necro doesn't kill him.
Right.
Accuracy, having the accuracy at the 55% mark gives you more safety, even though you might lose a little bit of damage on it. I would prioritize that because if you don't land the defense break, then you are at a higher chance to not kill in time and then instead be killed. So that's a little bit of what I mean when I talk about safety. Stats for optimization, it really comes down to damage. Lots and lots of people still will use violent runes within their Kairos comps, and that is a great way to add safety. But oftentimes, your violent runes are not your highest damage sets. Your highest damage sets are probably going to be fatal because we spend a lot of time in G10 when we start the game, and then usually we jump out before we should. And I just spent the last, I don't know, 4 months in G10 looking at for upgrades, and I think I farmed up around 110 million in G10 just to like try to get that side of my game caught back up. But that being said, fatal runes, those are going to be really good damage sets for you. Rage runes, those could be a potentially good source for you depending on where you're at in the game. And then even broken sets. Broken sets can provide a ton of good damage. People oftentimes will have an endure rune sitting around, that maybe has like 20% crit rate and 10% attack. And for whatever reason, they've been farming R5. They haven't used up their grinds to enhance that rune, but like those are really good sources of damage. And if you can get away, like if you can get your damage output high enough that you don't have to rely on violet runes and you can instead turn to those runes, you're freeing up your violet runes to be used in other parts of the PvE game, like Guild Wars or Siege. And you're using runes that were just sitting in your box that you were trying to figure out something to do with anyway. So it's, in my opinion, like a win-win there.
Oh yeah, and I'm a good testimonial on that. Like I said, but back in the day, before we even got into this, it was, 14 units, 2/3 of them on violent, sets, and of course all the ones in Necromancer, B10 were violent revenge sets, and now we're literally running that. I don't think we have anybody on violence. I think it's all broken or some fight there. I think we got a fatal in there. I don't recall. I don't think we have anybody on violent.
Yeah, I don't remember either. Your diva might be on violent. I might have put
Yeah.
one of your twins on violent, but
Yeah. Yeah,
have to
maybe
double check.
one if they either that, yeah, but that's pretty much it. So now, obviously we talked a little bit about, my team and kind of how it's set up and whatnot here. You've been doing this obviously longer than me. You're the one that set everything up there. Tell us about maybe your comp and like where you see yourself now. What's the future of your team? Break it down for me.
Sure. So the comp that I use these days, it's Abigail, Julie, Sophia, which not many folks used until I started doing it. And then we've got Talia and Sabrina. And the reason that I picked Sophia is Sophia, for those that don't know, is the wind puree. She, similar to Julie, has a guaranteed use because it is conditional of her S3, which means she has a very high chance to land defense break that is targeted at your mid bosses and at your main bosses. Also for Necro, it has multi-hit, which is really good for getting that Necro boss down quickly.
Gotcha.
That is the comp that I had been using for the past, let's call it 6-7 months, and it's been really successful. On G10, I have something like a 99% success rate, around 24-second clear average for it. On D10 and N10, similar success rates, but I cannot remember off the top of my head what the clear times are. They're not nearly as good, to be clear.
Right.
I think in D10, it's something like a 31-second average clear time. And on N10, I want to say I have these stats somewhere. I should just go look them up. I think it's around 40 seconds, but I'll need to go double check that.
Okay.
Anyway, so what's the future for me? I'll be honest, I've been starting to get the itch to retake some of the crowns for overall max speed
Right.
clear time. And the one that really got to me was this rank 1 Necro 50% manual comp that we just recently saw. With that, you've got the double Abigail, you've got a Lucian, you've got the Light Griffin, Second Awakened, and you've got a Lyn.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's a really interesting comp, right? Like in it, you've got the AoE damage dealer from Lucian to mow down trash waves. Then you've got both of the Abigails to provide multi-hit and ultimately break shield. And once the shield from the Necro boss is broken, then both the Light Griffin and the Lyn just mop up.
It's
And
crazy.
it's so fun to watch it.
Yeah.
And so recently, we just had this HOH for Abigail, or the water cannon girl. And what I did is I got one, I max skilled her S2, did not awaken her. and I've been able to bring my max clear time for Necro down by 4 seconds so far, and I've brought my average clear time down. I haven't done enough runs that I've logged to actually be able to tell you confidently how much I've brought it down, but my guess is it's somewhere between 5 and 7 seconds improvement on average clear time per run. So that's great. That's good. The only difference that I made in that comp versus the one that I told you about before is I took my Sophia's runes and I put them on that second Abigail. So you asked, what is the future for me? I think that as I've gotten to playing this game, further and further into playing this game, and I find that I need to sit in one dungeon for literally months at a time to get the things that I want to get to help improve the account in one direction or the other.
Mhm.
It's to move away from this concept of necessarily one comp to rule them all, and it's really to have one rune set to rule them all. At the point where I'm at in the game, I'm able to take runes, move them around to different monsters, make sure that I've already got all the stats met on those rune sets. How can I further optimize to make sure that the damage that I'm doing, the comps that I'm bringing, help bring me faster clear times for the specific task that I'm doing?
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I'm actually, like I said, I'm actually excited to see how things change. I'm going to be waiting for the next video. To kind of finish off the concept of the topic at hand, I would love to get maybe your take on maybe like that number one common mistake that people have made trying to make this comp. Maybe some of the things that you've run into with your community talking about it. Because obviously, I'm guessing that they once they saw your comp, they're like, hey, I want to do that. I want to follow you, and I'm trying it. I'm making a mistake. Like, what's the big thing that everyone's like having trouble with when they're creating this comp?
I think the biggest thing is just getting hung up on this concept, as we've talked about a few times here, that you need specific monsters to make this happen.
Mm-hmm.
General concepts, AoE damage dealers, clear wave 1 and wave 3 as quickly as possible. You need a defense breaker that has enough accuracy to land on the mid boss and the final boss, and then you need damage to murder down those two areas. Like if you do that, if you understand those concepts, you'll be able to start looking at the monsters that you have and be able to start building out a true one comp to rule them all for yourself.
I like it, my man. I like it. Cool, cool, cool. Well, that's gonna be it for the video, guys. Once again, Zeomi, thank you so much for coming on board and educating the community once again with the Triple Crown team and how to build it, my man. Appreciate it.
Hey, yeah, no problem, Childish. Hey, before we go, I just wanted to say one more thing to you and your audience,
Uh-oh, what is it?
if that's okay.
They already know that I'm the best AMR content creator of some of this work. Go ahead though. Say what you gotta say.
Okay. This is going to be a play on your intro, my man. Bum 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 bum. That's it.
Nice, very nice. I like it. I like it. I'm definitely gonna catch you in to make those next sets of beats when I redo my intro. I appreciate that.
I appreciate it too.
All right, guys. So once again, big shout out to Zeomi for coming on the channel. If you guys haven't had a chance to check him out, I will leave a link in the YouTube description down below for his YouTube channel, as well as his Twitch channel, so you guys can check him out on those videos and of course live on stream here. So that's gonna be it, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. It's your boy Childish and Zeomi with ChildishPlays checking out. Take care, and we will see you all in the next one. We're out.